Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Your boy is on fire, dude. I've been dropping these comparisons like crazy because I want you guys to see what the biggest differences are between your current iPhone or an iPhone that you might be looking at, which is the iPhone 6s Plus, to the latest and greatest. My voice got really weird there. But the latest and greatest budget phone of this year could probably be the best budget phone of this year, but I think there's some other contenders that might be coming out later this year, who knows right now. But let's go ahead and see how they compare it. Now before I get too deep in this, I am giving away an iPhone SE 2020. It's the product red one. If you want to enter, all you have to do is subscribe to the channel and follow me on Twitter and Instagram. All those links are linked down below, so you guys can go and check them out from there if you guys want to enter. I'll be picking the winner on May 8th, so about like a week and a half from now, give or take a little bit. So keep a like down on the channel so you guys don't miss that. But really, I'll be honest, the biggest differentiating factor between these two are probably the prices. As you guys know, the iPhone SE 2020 is costing about $400 plus tax, so a little bit more than $400. I think I paid about like $430 for mine, and about two of them, so it was like $860 or something like that. But the iPhone 6s Plus does not cost that $749 or whatever it cost when it first came out. It's costing about $160 on Amazon, and I'll be honest, that's kind of even too expensive. You can probably pick one of these up for like $100. But there might still be some compelling reasons to pick this phone up over this one, and specifically it might come down to the size. Some people might prefer a bigger size screen, and I can't blame them for that. A bigger size phone sometimes are better, that's why they're more expensive. They do offer some cooler aspects. Battery life might be better here and there. But still, when you're comparing a newer phone like the iPhone SE, you're getting some cooler features even with the size and with the screen and the body overall. Now, starting off with the front, I guess we'll start off with the 6s Plus. It started off with a 1080p display, and obviously it still has a 1080p display. It's 5.5 inches, and it's a pretty good panel at the end of the day. I feel like Apple did a decent job with these panels to make them last as long as they could, just because they didn't want to go and remanufacture them and everything. So these panels weren't really bad when they first started, and towards the end of it, even with the 8 Plus, it wasn't really that bad. Now, it's not perfect, it's not an OLED display, it doesn't even have True Tone, which is one of the cooler aspects for the SE 2020, but still for a display from, that started back in 2015, I don't think it's a bad display at all. And even now in 2020, I think it still holds up. You still have Force Touch on it too, which is really cool, so if you want to do whatever with this display, you have that capability with Force Touch, which is really awesome. On the iPhone SE 2020 though, we do have a 4.7 inch panel. It is an IPS panel, and it's a good looking panel too. I don't think it's bad. Now, one thing about it is because it's a new phone, it just looks that much better because there's no scratches or dents or anything on it, but probably down the line it's probably not going to look as good, if I'm being honest. But I think the panel looks really good for now, True Tone on it, which is really cool. No Force Touch, but it does have haptic feedback, which is pretty much the exact same thing. And really, whatever you're going to do with it, I think you're going to be perfectly okay with it. It's not a bad display, but it definitely could have been better, and I think Apple could have spent a little bit more money or a little bit more effort or time into making this a better looking panel. But I think at the end of the day, it's not a horrible looking phone at the end of the day. So that pretty much covers it up in the front. They both have lightning ports on the bottom, but the 6s Plus does have a headphone jack, which is really cool. So you have the capability on the 6s Plus where you don't have that on the SE, but you can still use AirPods. You can still use the AirPods with it too, so it's not a big deal. Now on the back, there's another humongous issue, or a difference for that matter. The 6s Plus, look how bigger it is. I mean, it's a pretty big phone, but the SE 2020 obviously has that glass back with that Apple logo centered, where the 6s Plus has that aluminum back with the Apple logo up top. Not even that big of a deal. I don't even know why I mentioned the Apple logo every time. But the biggest thing though is that the 6s Plus does not have any wireless charging, where the iPhone SE 2020 does have wireless charging. So that is a kind of a big deal. It might not be a deal breaker for you, but that is something to consider, that the SE 2020 does have that capability at the end of the day. So for sure, I think in terms of the body and everything, probably the SE 2020 wins, just because of that kind of better display with True Tone and with that glass back and wireless charging. The 6s Plus is still kind of there though, but another reason why the SE 2020 is better is because of that IP certification. You have IP67 dust and water resistance on the iPhone SE 2020, where you don't have any type of certification on the 6s Plus. Now, some people have stated as before that the 6s Plus was water certified, or you can splash some water on it and still be good, but I wouldn't test it. At the end of the day, the SE 2020 does have certification, where the iPhone 6s Plus does not have any certification like that. So that pretty much covers it up in terms of the body. Now, hitting on the software variants, this is the obvious one too. The SE 2020 just got released. It's starting off with iOS 13, and it's going to be lasting for a very, very long time. You can get this thing now and not even plan to upgrade your phone for many, many years from now. So in terms of that, you're pretty much set on the SE 2020, Whereas on the 6S Plus, we're kind of in a strange situation. It's kind of like in a pending situation, if you will. This thing started off with iOS 9. Right now it's on iOS 13. Some people have stated, like, we don't know whether it's going to be getting iOS 14 or not. There is a chance, the iPhone 6 is unsupported, so there might be a chance that the 6S Plus could get it, but it's really 50-50. I think, honestly, it is 50-50. I'm not too sure. There's reasons why I think it could get it. There's reasons why I don't think it'll get it, so I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens, but definitely for now, the SE 2020 will last much longer than the 6S Plus. Even if the 6S Plus gets the next version of Android, the SE is still going to outlast this one, so at the end of the day, the SE 2020 definitely wins in terms of the software versions, but the 6S Plus does have a cool thing with its specific hardware. It does have that checkra1n jailbreak capability, so if you want to jailbreak this phone, you have that capability under that checkra1n jailbreak, which is really cool. So in terms of the outside, that really pretty much covers it. Now I'll go ahead and tell you the specs, and I'll do a little bit of a speed test, but just be warned, I will be doing a full in-depth speed test between these two at some point, probably in the next 2 weeks. So this one's just going to be a quick one. Obviously the SE 2020 is going to be the faster one, but this will basically just tee up for the next speed test that I'll be doing. But the iPhone SE 2020 has that Apple A13 Bionic chip, hex-core CPU, and 3 gigs of RAM, where the 6S Plus has that Apple A9 chip, dual-core CPU, and 2 gigs of RAM. So let's go and see which one is the faster one between these two. Okay, let's go ahead and knock out all these apps in the background. And it looks like the 6S Plus doesn't have any apps, which is good. So let's start up these apps. Let's do the App Store. 3, 2, 1. And I might have to turn up the brightness on this one because that does not look too good for me. And as you can see, the SE 2020 was just loading up way faster. Scrolling seems a little bit faster on the SE 2020 as well. Yeah, you can see some pretty big differences between those two. So we can start loading up these third-party apps. Let's do Facebook. 3, 2, 1. And even there was like a little glitch when you were loading up the 6S Plus too, which is crazy. And definitely the SE 2021. Let's do Instagram. 3, 2, 1. And definitely, I think the SE 2021 there. Twitter, 3, 2, 1. And again, I mean, this is a clear winner. It's quite obvious which one is the faster one there. Netflix, 3, 2, 1. And again, SE 2020 is the winner there yet again. Quizlet, 3, 2, 1. And again, SE 2020 is the winner, followed by the 6S Plus at some point. Thank you, 3, 2, 1. And again, SE 2020 is loaded. And I keep saying 2020, I honestly don't need to say that. And eventually we get into the 6S Plus. Snake versus Blocks. 3, 2, 1. And there seems to be a little glitch with this one. Every time I click on it, it's like a little bit of a glitch. Not a deal breaker or anything, but a thing to notice at the end of the day. And again, SE2 is faster. Temple Run. 3, 2, 1. And we were in a game on the SE 2020, but still at the end of the day, I was still able to load up faster than the 6S Plus for sure. Fruit Ninja, 3, 2, 1. Hopefully we don't need to do any accepting or anything like that or any pop-ups. And SE2 is already loaded. 6S Plus still loading. Still loading, it's taking its time. And eventually we get into it. I mean, that was a pretty big difference. And even when it did load into it, it even glitched up there, which is pretty crazy. Let's do Temple Run 2, 3, 2, 1. And you can see SE2 is already loading into the game. And we might be loaded into the game before the SE2 is, or before the 6, and we're already loaded on the SE2, and then we get into it on the 6S Plus. Now that's a pretty big difference if you ask me. Like, that one is pretty apparent, and that one is a huge one. Now, I don't know Real Racing 3 if it's going to work on either of these phones. 3, 2, 1. I know it's going to work on this one. I don't know if it's going to work on this one or if I didn't download it or something. But definitely even to load into the game is faster on the SE2 just to click on it, which is crazy. And you can see SE2 is loaded. It's still taking our time on the 6S Plus. And look at that, we're already loaded on this SE2. And the 6S Plus is still taking its time. And I don't know if this game bugged out or whatever, but I guess we're going to have to wait until it's done. And look at that, look how much longer it took on the SE on the 6S Plus. This is crazy. It's literally insane how long it takes on this phone, and then we eventually get into it. So look at those loading speeds, look at those differences. You're going to get much better loading speeds on the SE2 for sure, and that's one of the things you're paying for. You're paying for a much faster phone on this one, so for at the end of the day, for sure, the SE2 is the much faster phone. Now, just like the speed test, I'll be doing a separate camera test, full in-depth one, but I'll briefly hit on them in this video. You have 12 megapixel sensors on both phones, so on the 6S Plus, you have a single 12 megapixel lens. On the SE2, you have a single 12 megapixel lens, and they're almost the same, but you do have way more capability. On the SE2, you can do 4K video at 60 frames, or you can only do 4K at 30. On the 6S Plus, you have portrait mode and all different things like that, where on the 6S Plus, you don't have it. So for sure, at the end of the day, the SE2 has way better camera than the 6S Plus for sure. Now on the front, you have 7 megapixel sensor on the SE2 and a 5 megapixel sensor on the 6S Plus. You can still do 1080p on both cameras, so one doesn't like blow the other one out of the water. But for sure, at the end of the day, the SE2 has the way better camera sensors. Now ending it off with the battery life, the SE2 has a 1821 mAh battery. The 6S Plus has a 2750 mAh battery, and for sure, I will tell you the SE2's battery life is okay, but I still think the 6S Plus has a better battery life, even though it has a bigger screen and a higher resolution screen, all that. Something about the SE2's battery life really isn't as great as people might be hyping up it to be. It's the same thing as the iPhone 8, and still I think the SE2's battery life is okay at best. And I think, compared to a lot of the competition we have in the market right now, the 6S Plus even is more top tier than the SE2 when it comes down to the battery life. And honestly, when it comes down to it, should you go and upgrade your 6S Plus to the SE2? Maybe, like, if you have the money, then go for it. I don't see why not. Like, this is a good phone, and I think a better phone than the 6S Plus overall. But I still think there's some ways the 6S Plus might be better. You have better battery life. You have, a better screen, kind of, for such, which is really cool. But the battery life is probably my biggest gripe with the SE2 for sure. So I think both phones are still great. The SE2 is way better. But if you have a 6S Plus, I would probably tell you to keep it. Like, I wouldn't recommend picking up a 6S Plus over this phone. I'd probably recommend picking up, like, an iPhone 8 Plus over this one. Or better yet, an iPhone 10 over the SE2, but really if you have a 6S Plus, keep it. Or if you want to go buy an iPhone 10 or an 8 Plus, those will probably do you better, and I'll link all those in the description below. So that's really pretty much it. If you guys have any other questions or anything, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that means so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count, so it means so much if you guys could hit that. Also check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my second channel, all those links are linked down below. I'd really appreciate if you guys to check it out. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.